So the Human Sciences Research Council, together with the NGO Tshintsha Amakhaya, conducted a comparative study on agrarian rural household economy. And the study investigated how people earn a living through farming, specifically to understand the challenges experienced by marginalized communities. Now, the study found that most agrarian households are impoverished and unable to meet their basic nutrition requirements, despite living and working in the rural areas where food is produced. But let's bring in a local farmer in this discussion, Sophy Kgatle, and the CEO of Surplus People Project, the coordinator of Tshintsha Amakhaya NGO, Brian Adams. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and a good morning to you. Brian, I'll let you have the first take here. You know, the importance of having run this study and key findings that really stand out for you on the state of rural communities and agrarian farmers.
Hi, thanks, Naledi. So normally in these situations, you ask three questions. What was confirmed? What's surprising and new? And what do we do about it? So just to say, for us who've been working as social justice organizations with the most marginalized in rural areas, everything was confirmed that we knew. And then if you ask what's surprising and new, not much, but the reason we commissioned this study was to let South Africa, the state and others know, because the communities we're talking about, that we're working about, they're on the margins of society, and studies normally just deal with commercial agriculture. So we know what we were going to find, and the purpose really is to bring it to the attention of South Africa and the authorities.
Yeah, and I want to get into the key findings, because what stands out for me is you've got people that live in areas that produce food, Brian, and are struggling to meet their basic nutrition needs. I mean, how severe is the problem? Paint the picture for us.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the poverty line, you know, there are three lines, and the study has confirmed again that in the most rural areas in South Africa, where the study in 12 districts in all 9 provinces, people's spending on food and income is below the bottom poverty line. And so people are getting poorer as we speak.
Yeah, that's horrible. And Ms. Sophy, I'm going to bring you in here and talk about what you take from the study and how, you know, reflective of what it looks like on the ground for agrarian rural households.
Thank you so much, Naledi. From Limpopo, that's where I originally come from, and the area called Mankweng area, Hamutapo. It's a rural community where farming is very important for us, especially subsistence farming. And we've been doing this for a long time. But since 2011, things like started to change, and we are experiencing this. We are working, we are farming. Things are bad. Poverty is real in our communities, and we are trying to fight poverty so that we cannot continue talking one thing all the time. As a small scale farmer, and also working with women that their families get food.
Yeah, your line is giving us some trouble, but we'll come back to you. Let's see if we can get a clearer line. But Brian, I want to come back to you because I want to look at the findings here. 80% of individuals within agrarian households have a per capita income below the official lower poverty line. That's 760 Rand per month. I mean, how do people live off 760 Rand a month? It's hard to try and even to do that mathematics. And at the same time, you've also looked at how agrarian households lack access to land and tenure security. Talk to us about that particular issue.
Yes, so Sophie, in Naledi, within this past period of elections, people were speaking about land and Section 21 and politicking about it. As social justice organizations, for us, it's not about party politicking. It's about the most marginalized struggling to survive, and the food that they eat not being nutritious while they are producing food, producing food to go to supermarkets in the major urban centers and producing food to be exported. So that challenge says to us, where is the problem? The land is there, the people are there, but people aren't able to get land, not to produce for the market, but to produce for themselves. So the least the state can do is to say, there's a piece of ground, here's some inputs, here's access to water, and grow nutritious food in terms of you and your own family. And we found again that female-headed households are the worst off. They have most mouths to feed, but the least income. But if they had access to land to grow food, why depend on having to go to a supermarket? So yeah, that's the reality. And just to say, this study was not an academic study, but it is for us as social justice movements, together with our partners on the ground, to shine a spotlight on a forgotten element of our society. We all live in urban areas and we think it's all hunky-dory, but out of the 60 million South African population, 20 million live in rural areas. A third of South Africa live in rural areas, and somehow we've forgotten about our comrades within those areas.
Yeah, and here's the thing, it's these rural areas essentially that bring food to areas that really are the urban areas. And yet what you found is that farming is not the main source of income for most agrarian households, which I think is particularly shocking. I'm going to go through these numbers quickly. So a farming-headed household has an average income of 14,000 Rand, followed by households headed by farm workers. Right, so 14,000 Rand for a farmer, 4,000 Rand for a farm worker, and a farm dweller at 4,000 Rand as well. Ms. Sophy, I mean, let's talk about that inequality, right? The dependence that South Africa has on agrarian communities, and yet the inequality in those communities is so stark.
The inequality is very high in our communities. And with the 14,000 that you just mentioned from the farmers, it's added by other work. As a woman, you have to do 2-3 work, other jobs to augment the income from the small scale farming that the income that you receive from your produce. And it is not a good thing because we don't have enough space. We don't have land. Because what we are doing now currently, we are using the available lands that we can grab so that we can have a larger scale of produce. So we use our backyard. We promote backyard gardens so that people can produce their own food and be sure that whatever they produce, it's good and it's nutritious. And we also use the schools so that we can even teach the children from schools, young as early ECD. Yeah. We help them to do their gardens so that they know where the food comes from. Not the food comes from a supermarket, but they must know that the food comes from home. We can grow our own food and grow our nutritious food. And even in schools, we are also doing the backyards. We are using the backyards of the school, the churches, the land that we can just grab. We are using it because we don't own land.
Yeah, Ms. Sophy, your line giving you, yeah. I think, let me ask you this, and I'm going to bring this back to Brian, just because your line is going bad, but that point is made so clearly, Sophy. Brian, the recommendations you've made are fixed land reform. Probably should have ended that, but it comes with promote community empowerment, respond to climate change, improve basic services, improve agricultural support, address food insecurity. But you've said fix land reform. Well, we have 2 new ministers now. You've got, for instance, the Minister Naledi Moleo as the Minister for Land Reform, and Minister John Steenhuisen as the Minister of Agriculture in this new 7th administration. Where are you taking this report, and are you confident that these are the men that will deliver these recommendations?
So yes, I'm not confident because this plays itself over in every administration. Because the focus really of the administration is around industrial agriculture and how the food has become a commodity, and it's about profit, and it's not about survival. It's not about the poorest of the poor and bringing them into the mainstream economy, not just surviving. One of the findings as well that I want to bring in here that we need to bring to the attention of the two ministers and South Africa in particular is the casualization of people working in these rural areas. So there is not the fixed monthly amount of income for fixed work. It's short term, it's seasonal, as we know, but now as well, you are not secure. And then what happens is migrants are coming into the space, and they are even more marginalized in the sense of they're given less to do more work. So this is a systemic problem. So we're not asking for the one person, the individual, the two, and give them some money, but how do we change this across South Africa for the 20 million people?
Yeah, an important study, and we'll be looking to see as well who engages with it. But thank you so much for your time. We really have appreciated both of your insights. Brian Adams there is the CEO of Surplus People Project, and Sophy Kgatle, a local farmer, speaking to us about what the findings of the report look like on the ground.